Okay, everybody, my name is DeCall Thomas, and this is roundtable number 3, the one good clue. Jason Dent asked Forrest if he would give him something to talk about on their show last month. Forrest Fenn replied, talk about the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves but haven't. Repeat it. Talk about the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves but haven't. And that good clue would be, Jason responded, I will never tell. Think. As you can see, this is on the left side is Forrest Fenn's response. Well, could you tell me this? Is the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves but haven't in the poem? I can't say. So it's clear that Forrest Fenn is aware of a very good clue that people could searchers could think of themselves but haven't, and he won't tell, but he's asking us to think and ponder. And he cannot say, or is not willing to say, whether that good clue is in the poem, which leads me to think that perhaps it's not in the poem. But what is something so simple, something very obvious, something that every searcher knows? What is this thing that's, I'm assuming it's simple and obvious, but if they could think of it themselves, most searchers, and it doesn't take anything complicated or specialized knowledge, then, and every searcher knows it, what kind of things would that be? Well, maybe it's the title of his book, The Thrill of the Chase, or maybe it's the pictures on the cover of his book, or the layout. But I would think something very, very obvious or simple. I see, if you haven't guessed, I'm talking about Forrest Fenn as the most obvious clue. Forrest Fenn. Now, if you notice the first slide, I spelled it correctly with one R and one N, but Forrest Fenn himself, double R, double N. Okay. You notice that every picture on the cover of both books, and if you look in inside the book, The Thrill of the Chase, almost every picture is a picture of Forrest Fenn. And that kind of lets you know that this is about Forrest Fenn. We see him by the wagon and his shadow represented here. That's a long controversial story, but let's not get into it. That's Forrest Fenn's shadow. Here it is, Forrest Fenn Lake, right? This is, only problem is this is in Sweden. But I like the idea of thinking about Forrest Fenn, his persona, Forest Fire is his avatar name, Forrest Fenn in this obvious field of stumps, tree stumps, was a forest at one time. And, you know, he's wearing waders, so that might hint that this is a forest and a fen, some sort of a marshy bog, okay? What is a forest fen? We have the trees, basically the mountains, the trees, and the fen creatures, frogs, and butterflies, dragonflies. The frog is obviously one of the most prominent things in the treasure chest. It gives you an idea that these are important. I tend to think the salamander is also important. All right, but look at this theme. Buffalo porcupine is the Yellowstone marshy wetlands area. We see the frogs abundantly, butterflies and dragonflies abundantly, and the unknown soldiers and the dancing girls. Definitely a theme here in the forest green color of the jars, the different variations on green, which a forest and a fen have different variations on the green. Interesting. Have a look at these other two quotes that may be the same idea. We're not sure, but they sound a lot the same. One important possibility related to the winning solve could be very similar or the same subject that Fenn is bringing up now. Also, clues in my poem, tight focus with a word that is key. Okay, so a word that is key may be, it may be fen, it may be forest, you know, who knows. Forrest Fenn is not necessarily in the poem, though. So, but study these and see if these make any additional sense. Oh, I changed the order. Okay, so in conclusion, we got Forest Fen. This is some beautiful mini lake in Montana. We have my 800-foot salamander geoglyph, which I believe fits the theme of forest and fen, fits the theme of the jars and bells. Believe it or not, this even has a forest and a fen pondweed in the geoglyph, which is kind of amazing that they had the artistic composure to create this thing. And I believe the double omega could very well represent the FF, like Peggy Proctor, Suzanne Summers, Ronald Reagan, Robert Redford, all the different characters. Dizzy Dean, he mentioned a lot of similar name. Shows the, the classy but certainly narcissism by Forrest Fenn, and we all have this narcissism, but Forrest Fenn has done it very well. And if I think the word forest and the word fen with one R and one N could easily and should represent where the chest is hidden. It makes perfect sense to me. All right, thanks everybody.